The wind moves gently across the lawns of Windsor. Inside the gates, something shifts, not with spectacle, not with ceremony, but with silence. The title of Duke of York, one of the oldest and most storied names in the House of Windsor, has been surrendered. No procession, no announcement on the balcony, just a statement, brief and deliberate. Prince Andrew will no longer hold the title or the honors that once defined his standing within the royal family. Before we go deeper, there's something I need to say. Thousands of you watch these royal stories, following every chapter, every silence, every turn in the crown's long shadow. Yet, many of you haven't subscribed. If you come here often, it's because you want the truth told with care, without noise, without spin. So before we continue, subscribe to Crownverse, where royal history is alive, evolving, and always under quiet scrutiny. The story begins decades ago, long before the scandals and the settlements. When Prince Andrew was made Duke of York in 1986, the moment was one of celebration. He was young, charismatic, the Queen's favored son, a naval officer who'd served in the Falkland War. His marriage to Sarah Ferguson, bright and buoyant, promised to renew the public's affection for a family still finding its footing after the turbulence of the 1980s. But time moves differently for royals. A title is supposed to last a lifetime, but a reputation can fade faster than morning mist. The Duke and Duchess of York became symbols of both the monarchy's vitality and its vulnerability. Their marriage collapsed under pressure. The photographs, the yacht, the tabloids, the embarrassment, burned into memory. Still, the Queen forgave, or at least endured. Andrew remained her son, and in the years that followed he took up quiet roles, trade envoy, patron, representative, nothing glamorous, but useful, until the world changed. In the early 2000s, Andrew's friendship with Jeffrey Epstein became public knowledge. At first, it seemed a curiosity, not a crisis. Epstein was rich, connected, charming in the way dangerous men sometimes are. But when the truth about Epstein's crimes emerged, the abuse, the trafficking, the network of power, Andrew's name was no longer just a footnote. Photographs surfaced. One, showing him with a young Virginia Roberts, now Virginia Giuffre, became one of the most damaging images in royal history. Then came the infamous BBC interview. Andrew sat down with journalist Emily Matalis and tried to explain. The tone was defensive, the answers disjointed. He claimed he could not sweat. He said he had been at Pizza Express in Woking the night one allegation took place. It was supposed to be exonerating. Instead, it became catastrophic. Public outrage followed swiftly. Charities withdrew their patronage. Royal aides moved to contain the fallout, and within days, the Queen's second son stepped back from public duties for the foreseeable future. But the foreseeable stretched into years. Andrew faded from view, rarely photographed, never quoted. Yet he remained the Duke of York, by birthright, by royal favor, by the quiet protection of a mother who loved him to the end. That protection is gone. King Charles has inherited not only the crown, but also the responsibility of discipline. His reign, more pragmatic and less forgiving, is redefining what loyalty looks like within the House of Windsor. Where Elizabeth shielded, Charles scrutinizes, and in October of this year, the decision came. Prince Andrew relinquishes the title of Duke of York. The honors that once adorned his chest, the Order of the Garter, the Royal Victorian Order, will return to the crown. For a moment, the news rippled through Britain like a ghost. People paused, read, and wondered why now? Why, after so many years of quiet exile, did the crown choose this moment to act? Perhaps the answer lies not in what was said, but in what was coming. In recent months, a series of documents and testimonies have resurfaced. The posthumous memoir of Virginia Giuffre revisited familiar allegations with new emotional force. Emails tied to Epstein's network reignited public scrutiny. In that context, the monarchy's move looks less spontaneous and more preemptive. The Crown's message is subtle but clear. The monarchy cannot afford to carry this burden any longer. In one sense, this is about accountability. In another, it is about optics. A modern monarchy must adapt to survive. Every title, every name, every photograph is a piece of its reputation. When one piece begins to rot, the entire structure trembles. Charles, whatever his flaws, knows this. His reign will not tolerate ambiguity. But what does this mean for the man himself? Andrew remains a prince, by birth if not by role. He still lives at Royal Lodge, the stately home he shares with Sarah Ferguson, who herself occupies a curious position in the royal ecosystem. Divorced from Andrew, yet still living alongside him. Accepted enough to appear at family gatherings, but excluded from formal duties. A royal without a rank. Now that the Duke of York title is gone, so too goes her courtesy as Duchess. Without it, Ferguson becomes something more ambiguous, a figure hovering at the edge of royal legitimacy, part of the family, yet outside of it. The same pattern that once defined her ex-husband now defines her again. Present, but peripheral. The repercussions stretch further. Their daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, may hold their titles, but the association lingers. The sins of fathers have long shadows in royal circles. It would be unfair to tie their identities to Andrew's past, and yet, in public perception, separation is not so simple. This decision also signals something larger, a transformation in how the Crown handles scandal. For centuries, monarchy depended on mystery. Now it survives by managing exposure. Charles knows that power today lies not in invisibility, but in accountability. The monarchy cannot hide forever behind velvet curtains. It must show consequence, even if symbolic. And so the removal of Andrew's titles serves two purposes. It distances the monarchy from one of its most damaging chapters, and it reminds the public that no title, however ancient, is immune to the pressure of moral expectation. There is irony here. The royal family was built on the idea of permanence. Titles were meant to last forever. But the world has changed. The idea of forever is now measured in news cycles. Yet behind this strategy, there is tragedy. Andrew was once known for loyalty, for bravery, for humor. Those who knew him before the scandals described a man deeply proud of his service, devoted to his mother, occasionally vain, but undeniably dutiful. That image is gone, replaced by something smaller, heavier, more human. A man who has lost everything except the walls of his home and the weight of his name. For the monarchy, this moment is not victory. It is loss repurposed into lesson. It asks, what does it mean to belong to an institution that can take back what it gave you at birth? What does it mean to love a family that must, eventually, protect itself from you? The king's move is not cruel. It is necessary. The monarchy cannot heal without excision. And Charles, with the measured discipline of a man who waited 70 years to rule, is willing to make those cuts. Public reaction remains divided. Some call it justice delayed. Others call it hypocrisy, a symbolic gesture that solves nothing. But perhaps that's the point. The monarchy doesn't seek closure. It seeks control. To strip a title is to restore a boundary. Within those walls, royal survival continues. And yet, as the gates close and the public turns to other stories, one truth endures. The title may be gone, but the questions remain. What did Andrew know? What did he deny? What remains unsaid between the palace and the world outside? In history, silence is often the last form of confession, and that silence now surrounds him. The man once known as His Royal Highness the Duke of York becomes simply Prince Andrew, a title without a role, a name without a future. His portrait will fade from the corridors of power, but the lesson of his downfall will linger, that even within the walls of Buckingham, privilege has limits. The crown endures, but not unchanged. Its resilience lies not in perfection, but in adaptation. And every time a title falls, the monarchy learns again that its survival depends not on the weight of its history, but on its willingness to shed it. In the end, this is not just about scandal.